Morning, David.
Morning, Bill. My the camera. I can't get the camera on my computer to work this morning, so we're on the other one.
Yeah.
At
Well,
least we have one.
at least we have one. Yes.
How are you this morning?
I'm fighting the good fight.
I see. Oh dear.
Well, we have what I think is a squirrel trying to chew its way through the front door frame.
What? uh, um, you're going to have to figure out some way to um, get him to do something else.
Yeah. I'm going to find some, I hope, noxious goo and coat the area where he's chewing. So,
Yeah. Wow. Well, I can't say we have that problem.
I know, you know. uh, We've had a long series of rodent,
Yeah.
issues. Some of them funny, some of them not so funny.
Yeah.
But never one of them trying to chew its way into the house through the front door.
Did, have you sealed up other entrances for some reason?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that's it. Uh,
Uh, Getting back at us for something.
wow. Well, that's interesting this morning.
Yeah.
Here's. Yes, we do have Jeff today. Maybe.
There he is. There's his name.
Yeah, we got his name. That's a good start.
Yep.
Uh,
Morning, Jeff.
there he is.
Morning. Morning, guys. How are you?
Okay.
Good. How are you?
Good. All right.
Good. Your family get to Australia all right?
Yeah, the whole travel was okay, but they're both pretty sick now.
Oh,
Jesse's got a bad cold, and Jesse really never gets sick, so it had to have been all the airport and plane
yeah.
enclosure and all that, and
Uh,
nothing serious, but it's keeping them down right now. But otherwise, they're doing fine.
good. Good. Anything on the house front?
Yeah, an enormous amount has happened. I actually got an offer last Tuesday. Later in the day, it wasn't the people who were coming during class. It was actually another group who had been here a few days earlier. But, anyways, it's sold. It's under contract. I've had
Hey.
inspections done. Appraiser was here yesterday. We've negotiated back and forth and settling the things that came up in the inspections. Been really busy, but bottom line is the closing date is June 28th.
All right.
All goes
Great.
forward from there. Yeah, I didn't quite get the price I was hoping for, but at this point,
Yeah.
going quickly is worth the difference in what I probably could have waited for. So,
Yeah.
right now I'm paying for the mortgage and I'm paying our new rent, so I can't really afford to do that very long.
No. No, one can't.
So it's a fair trade-off. I'm satisfied with what we got given the market and everything, and it's just pushing forward through a very busy next few weeks to my final moving date from here is the 24th. And I've already moved a ton of stuff over. We had a 12-foot by 8 foot maybe pod that I had
Uh-huh.
stuffed with every as much as we could. It's been moved there, unloaded there over the last few weeks. This is, and that's gone now. So it's really I don't have a lot of stuff here other than all the big stuff, but it's still I'm doing it myself and still trying to work and everything and keep the house and yard going. It's kind
Uh,
of busy right now, but good busy because I see the end of the goal in sight very soon. So that's a good thing.
oh, that's well. Congratulations on
Well,
Yeah, thank
it,
you.
moving ahead anyway.
Yeah, no, that was my goal, and that's all I wanted. And this has been a long-term plan that we've been working forward with for the last 4 or 5 months now. It's step by
Yeah.
step. We're almost there. By the
Oh,
time I
that
come back from Australia, we'll be moved in. I'll be mostly settled in the new house, and Jesse can start school in early August, and everything will be good.
great, great, good. Well, as maybe you can see, I don't. I'm have lost the camera on my computer um, temporarily, so we're just on the other camera.
That's fine. I have no problem with that.
No, I didn't think you would really, but
I, I can work off of that when I watch the videos. It works well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, let me grab my ting shaw. I didn't catch that. Uh, so questions, reports. You probably haven't had a lot of practice time, I imagine.
I've had minimal, very minimal. I did just this morning. I watched last week's class, so I picked up what I could from that.
Yeah,
But just still, I've obviously got to work on trying to incorporate lengthening and the C curve and intent.
yep,
Uh, so we're doing. I still got a long ways to go on that, obviously.
good. Bill?
um, basically what we worked on last week, uh, the forum trying to watch my weight and where it is. That's actually was has required quite some work because I certainly was moving forward way too soon. So
Yeah,
that and on the qigong, trying to keep the elbows going. As I say, essentially what we worked on last week.
yeah. Um, I glanced at the video from last week. I didn't watch everything, but one of the things I noticed, indeed, Bill, was a tendency to carry your elbows a little higher than necessary.
Okay.
Um, and it's really interesting. Let's see. Maybe if I come up here, you can see my elbows. I'm obviously higher than we normally do, but um, it's really interesting if your elbows are roughly no more than 45 degrees, if that's possible, and there are some positions where that's not the case. But if you just raise them slightly, you can feel the change in your spine and up through the back of your neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's not very much. So you want to let the elbows be as much towards the ground as is reasonable and maintaining the posture. And
Okay.
that's true. That's pretty much true everywhere. Um, the other thing, obviously, that we worked on last week, and it was um, always one of Master Joe's basic principles is um, whole body movement. Um, in the Wu Yu Xiang classic, it's stated if one part of the body moves, every part moves, and if any part is still, all parts are still. That's couldn't actually be clearer.
Yeah.
um, so that precludes any stepping out with the leg or the arm, moving the arm without there being an accompanying body movement of some sort that relates to it.
Yeah.
And it may be quite simple and subtle, and obviously in this style we're moving more towards the subtle, um, but there has to be something. Um, and and as your skill grows and things become more internal, that the physical movement may become less obvious, but the internal movement gets larger. So, um, bearing all of that in mind, um,
When David, when
yeah.
you uh, comment on the whole body movement, what does that show up as with me? Sort of disjointed, or
Um, I don't know that I would have said disjointed. Maybe not entirely coordinated yet. Um,
yeah,
but I think the thing that um, I felt most strongly about was a tendency to move the legs without there being any appropriate movement of the torso.
ah, okay,
Um, and remember, we looked right at the very beginning,
yeah,
the stepping out,
yeah,
um, and um, I would say also probably the other thing for that you could um, be aware of because it really helps um, finding the appropriate coordinated body movements, and that is that you have to allow the quad to relax and turn. Um, as you were stepping out, there was almost no rotation um, in that first movement. Um, let me see if I can show you what I mean here. So when this begins, the first thing is that there is a rotation and sinking into that right leg. So that qua has to let go. Boom. And then you're able to use the dantian to rotate slightly and step left and then keep on going. But there's a um, it's really important to be able to use the qua to rotate as fully as you reasonably can. So, um, one of the thoughts that I had about that is that um, I'm not sure if either of you, I can't remember if either of you have done energy gates or not. I'm not getting a positive response.
um,
Eh,
I don't, not by that title, not a course by that title.
Yeah, opening the energy gates of your body.
I
I
don't
don't,
think so.
no, I don't think so.
Okay, that's a really something else to work on eventually. Um, it has several movements which incorporate that kind of rotation, but you can do it simply if you just go back. I'm sure both of you remember the first of the swings that we did in very
Oh, yeah.
beginning warm up from Master Joe, which is just that coordinated continual rotation. And that that movement is exactly what you have to find. You have to learn to allow the qua to close and rotate to one direction and then open so that you rotate and move to the other. Um, so when we think about that opening movement in the form, and really anything else we're doing, but we're initially thinking about really getting those rotations going so that we can use that to really incorporate into our whole body movement. Um, so you remember that swing, don't you, Bill?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So that would be maybe for you a really good thing to just do a bit of that. You don't have to do hours of it, but a little bit of that might really be helpful, and might try that.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember if we've talked about weight shift. um, you
Last
know,
week?
well, we have certainly in your other class, Bill. But I'm
Yes, yeah.
thinking I don't think I've really addressed that here, and that is an important piece also. Um, so there are 2 points on the bottom of our feet. Um, we're all pretty well familiar with Yong Chuan, the bubbling well, which is really just behind the ball of the foot. But there's also Shimian, which is located on the bottom of the heel, right at the back of the heel. And the bubbling well um, is um, more effective at drawing energy up into the body, and Shimian is better at releasing energy out of the body and into the earth. So when we're, for instance, obviously a good place to work on this is in our standing work, where actually there should be a continual, very subtle shift from from towards the toe and towards the heel, and it is a continuous movement. It is not toe pause, heel pause, um, and it's very subtle. So it's not really um, nothing we do is easy, but it's not easy. And that movement has to come from the Dantian. So it is also helping us to keep our awareness at the Dantian and not to slip upward in the body. So in I think you can see this here. The movement of the body is very small. So I am towards my toes, Now I'm towards my heel. And it's very, very slight. You don't want a big movement because that will tend to throw you off balance. But this does really encourage the flow of the energy um, through the body in each direction. So it's a really eventually a very important element to have. And you're moving towards the toes as you inhale, and towards the heel as you exhale. And so it's a continuous movement. And so another piece of this continuous coordinated movement we're working on. When we get into the form, it gets much, much, much more complicated because there frequently, as a matter of fact, most of the time, each leg is doing something opposite. So, whereas in the Qigong, both are towards the toe and both are towards the heel, when you get into the form, uh, one is towards the toe and one is towards the heel. Um, and so that's another step that we're not going to try to get into right at the moment. I wanted to really get us to try to incorporate this weight shift into the Qigong. Questions?
No. Seems to me that I haven't done dragon and tiger in some time, but that was a good place to practice what you were just talking about.
Yep, absolutely. Dragon and Tiger is a really good one to do um, with some regularity, but it doesn't have to be every day.
Mm.
But doing it, you know, regularly once a week even can be very beneficial. So if you know Dragon and Tiger, that's a really good one to on a day that you can do it,
Yeah.
incorporate it. So um, if there are no questions, let's go to our Qigong, but focus on um, along with everything else, very subtly shifting the weight. And what I'd like you to do is first uh, just step out. So thinking about that spiraling down, now of course into the left foot and stepping with the right, and then coming into center. And just letting your dantian subtly shift forward and feeling the pressure on the bottom of your feet move towards your toes. And then move the dantian very subtly back and feel it move towards the heel. It's a very small movement towards the toes and towards the heel. And try to make it a continuous movement. Very, very small. It's not a big gross movement. It's very slight because you're not actually in any way causing yourself to feel a sense of imbalance. But you are endeavoring to feel that very subtle change in pressure. First in one direction and then the other. And then begin to think about aligning that with your breath. So inhaling as you let the weight subtly shift forward, and then exhaling as you drop it down through the heel. Okay. So any question about that at the moment? Okay. So let's flow into the 8 gates. So beginning, inhaling and moving towards the toe, exhaling, moving towards the heel. Inhale towards the toe, exhale towards the heel. Toes, heel. Toes, heel. Toes as you transition down that side channel, and then towards the heel as you exhale into Kun Earth, and inhale and exhale towards the toes, towards the heel. Very subtle, continuous shift. And coming in and out to Kan, towards the toes, towards the heel. Bending and twisting towards the toes, extending and twisting out towards the heel, then up to the heart. In and out. Then towards the toes, towards the heel, toes, heel. Toes bending the spine, heel extending the spine. Bending towards the toes, extending towards the heel. In and out. towards the toes, towards the heel, bending in, extending out. In towards the toes, out towards the heel, in and out. Bending in towards the toes, extending out towards the heel, bending in towards the toes, out towards the heel. And using whole body movement to draw your leg in. Good. So how was that?
Oh, well, honestly, I found my body lurching rather than moving smoothly at the beginning. It
Yep.
got better as we went on. Um, I've been having balance problems, so this would be good to work on in that regard to begin with,
Yep.
um, but it does affect everything I do in the form and in the qigong. So
Yep. And it's so subtle that um, any tendency to overdo does
yeah,
lead to imbalance.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Jeff?
Um, I I don't know if I should have been doing this or not, but I found that as I was shifting forward, my knees were bending, and then as I was shifting back, they were straightening again. Should there have been any knee bending in this whole process, or
Not particularly. That the bending and straightening should be well. Actually, I take that back. Yes, there will be a small amount of bending there, um, but it's related to bending and extending, not to the movement of the weight. So, if you remember the external correspondences of wrist and ankles, wrist and ankles, good. And and hands and ankles and feet coordinate with each other. The knees and the elbows coordinate with each other. And the shoulders and scapula coordinate with the qua. And of course, they all coordinate with each other as well. But um, so while the movement of the knee is not as large as the movement of the elbow, there is a very subtle movement of the knee that is in relation, that's bending and straightening in relation to what's happening with the elbow.
Okay.
And it's not a big up and down. I mean, you're not doing a deep knee bend here.
Right. Mine, I bring it up because I feel like mine was too big for what we were doing. So
Yeah,
I I will try and when it happens again, I will try and think of it in relation to the elbows and
yeah.
do the smaller movement consciously until it becomes
Yeah,
no,
one of the things, of course, to think about with that is that um, I don't know whether you can see this here or not, but I'll do it this way. So in the bending, the elbows are bending, the knees are bending. So I am going down slightly. The spine is also bending. Actually, the ankles and wrists are very subtly bending. The toes and fingers are very subtly bending. And then they all extend. So all of those are happening simultaneously. It's not, but they aren't obviously all using the exact same range of movement,
right.
but the pace of coordination is there.
But when you say that the spine is bending, are you doing that in the way that we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the C curve where it's kind of folding in the center?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Right.
And that too can be very subtle.
Right.
As a matter of fact, in the form, there are a lot of places where you would never even see it. Um, Maybe if you're going extremely slowly in the form, you might see it.
Right.
But um, uh, what leaps to my mind is G, where the bend and the extend is quick and small and very subtle,
Right.
but present.
Okay.
um, but that develops over time. I'm not saying you should be doing it now. Um,
Right.
it, and that's one of the advantages of doing Master Jose Gates this way is it gives you a place to practice coordinating all these pieces
Right.
without having to um, think about balancing yin and yang in the form where it's often um, moving each side doing the opposite.
Right.
Yeah. So not to I didn't don't mean to um, confuse things or suggest that you should be perfectly doing all of this. Now it's a matter of practice, and um,
Right.
when you don't have enough time to practice, then um, the progress is slow.
Yeah. But I am trying to, not all the time, but some of the time, put some focus on the C curve in the spine and working on that because
Yeah,
I going back to what we talked about a few weeks ago again, where I'm trying to extend my movements all the way through my spine rather than stopping at the scapula. So in
yeah,
order, like I'm doing that correctly, I'm trying to also at this point consciously work the C curve movement into it as well. And
yep.
you know, I have little successes here and there, but it certainly isn't something I can do or even think about doing all the time yet.
No, and it's a big piece.
Yeah, I mean, so whenever you think it's appropriate to kind of mention it or work it in during our classes, it kind of helps me to continue down that path.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did that raise any other questions for either of you? Just not.
Not questions, but it's I think the last time I mentioned a number, it may have been 83 things to pay attention to at the same time. It's probably up to 117 now.
And again, it's practice that gets you past thinking
Yeah,
about them.
yeah.
um, so, um, maybe what I'd like you to do is to do a flow of the form, not not worrying about where your weight is, or perhaps even um, bending and straightening your spine a great deal, but not to take it away if that's automatic for you. But really thinking about your movement being whole body movement, everything working together. Okay? Okay. So there's some good work in there. Um, the things we talked about a little earlier, Bill, certainly are things to keep in mind as you continue to work on the form. Um, I have to say, both of you are doing quite well with wave hands. That was good. um, I think let me change my camera here. We talked about that beginning, um, and I'm not going to work on opening and closing there, but getting that spiraling to do the moving and keeping the rotation of the dantian going all the way through G. So there is a slight turn at the end of G. Foot still down, David. And then into Lu and on. Um, so this is kind of interesting here because you have that rotation all the way through G, but then you're using really forward movement and internal twisting to power Lu and on. When you go, I don't know how to. Bill, one of the things I was seeing was when you go into single whip, that you want to look for that roundness, that sphericalness there also. So you're stepping and then try to make this big. That movement is coming in and then out and then in as you adjust the foot and then out. So there is in effect, a figure eight pattern through there. The other thing I would say about single whip is that your tendency is, Bill, for you to carry your hands too low through that so that you get to the end of it, and instead of having that spiraling out into that posture, you have what's happening for you is you sort of got a lifting and then a little bit of spiraling at the end. But it needs to go all the way through there.
Understood. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes?
Understood. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Um, Jeff, the thing that stuck out to me was you're still tending to lose a bit of the rotation into things, but also making things too big. Your uh, white goose was way out here, um, and martially that would be a negative, to say
Yeah,
the least.
I think I did that a few times during wave hands too. I extended too far.
Yep.
I felt it there too.
Um, yeah, wave hands doesn't. I mean, you guys were really doing pretty well with that, but um, it doesn't have to be a huge extension out here.
Right.
What's more important is the expansion of the ball
Um,
than the reaching out.
right.
Um, so um, there were several other places too. I think just really trying to think in terms of um, not exceeding your 70%. um, might help you to rein some of that in.
Okay.
Oops. Now I've done it. Put on your glasses, David, and you will see things a little bit better. So, I don't know. I feel like that's enough to work on today.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, uh, anybody do you have any particular questions about a specific posture in the forum? Um,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you all pretty much know where you'd like to be.
Yeah.
um, so uh, practice when you can, and we'll we'll continue onward. Have
Okay.
fun with shifting your weight.
Yeah.
Okay, so take care.
Yep.
David, Jeff,
Have a good week.
have a
Yeah,
good, yeah.
congratulations, Jeff, on
Yeah, that's
selling the
right, David.
house.
Yeah, you're one of five people to have sold a house in the States this week. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel lucky. You finally got the right person through here. So,
Yeah, yeah,
That's great.
well, thank you. Appreciate it.
yeah,
Okay, take
Take care.
care.
See you guys next week.
All
yeah.
right,
Okay, bye bye.
bye. See you tomorrow, Bill.
Yep.